2 Maccabees, chapter 9. About that time, it happened that Antiochus returned in dishonor from the region of Persia, for he had entered the city called Persepolis and attempted to rob the temples and control the city. Therefore, when the citizens rushed to the city's aid with arms, Antiochus and his men were routed, and it came about that Antiochus was put to flight by the citizens and made a shameful return home. Now, while he was in Ecbatana, news came to him about what had happened to Nicanor and the forces of Timothy. Swollen with rage, he supposed that he would also vent upon the Jews the evil done to him by those who had banished him. Wherefore, he commanded his charioteer to drive without stopping to complete the journey. But the judgment of heaven came upon him, for in his arrogance he said, "When I arrive there, I will make Jerusalem a common burial place of the Jews." But the all-seeing Lord, the God of Israel, struck him with an incurable and unseen plague. For as soon as he stopped speaking, a deadly pain seized him in his inward parts with sharp internal torments, and this very justly, for he had tortured the inward parts of others with many and unusual afflictions. Yet by no means did he cease from his haughtiness, but was even more filled with arrogance, breathing fire in his rage against the Jews and giving orders to hasten the journey. So it came to pass that he fell out of his chariot as it rushed along, and the fall was so hard that it tortured every limb of his body. He who had just been thinking that he could command the waves of the sea because of his superhuman arrogance, and imagined he could weigh the high mountains in a balance, was brought down to earth and carried in a litter. Thus he conveyed plainly to all the manifest power of God. Accordingly, worms swarmed up from the ungodly man's body, and his flesh rotted away while he was still alive, anguishing and in pain. Because of his odor, the whole army was repulsed by his rottenness, and because of his intolerable smell, no one was able to carry the man who a little while before thought he could touch the stars of heaven. Then he was broken down and began to cease from much of his arrogance and to come to a recognition of the divine scourge. For he was bent over with pain at every moment. When he could no longer endure his own stench, he spoke these words, "It is right to be subject to God, and no mortal should think that he is equal with God." Then this disgusting man prayed to the Lord, who would no longer have mercy on him, saying that the holy city, which he had been hastening to level to the ground and make into a common burial place, he was now proclaiming to be free. Moreover, the Jews, whom he did not consider worthy of a burial place, but to be thrown out along with their children for the wild animals and the birds to eat, he would make them all equal to citizens of Athens. Furthermore, the holy temple, which he had plundered in times past, he would adorn with the finest offerings and restore, many times over, all the holy vessels and the taxes assigned to the sacrifices he would pay from his own revenues. In addition to this, he also would become a Jew and visit every inhabited place to proclaim the might of God. But when his sufferings did not cease at all, for the judgment of God came upon him justly, he was driven to despair over what had happened to him. Thus he wrote the Jews the letter recorded below in the form of a supplication. It contained the following words: "To the good Jewish citizens, Antiochus, your king and general, sends many greetings and good wishes for your health and welfare. If you and your children are strong and your interests are served, then I am glad. With my hope in heaven, I kindly remember your respect and goodwill. Now, as I was returning home from the region of Persia, I was struck with a difficult illness, and now consider it necessary to be concerned about the common safety of all. But I am not giving up hope for myself, for I have great hope of escaping from this illness. Nevertheless, I observed that even my father, when he led his army into the upper countries, appointed his successor, that if anything unexpected should arise, or any unwelcome news should come, the people throughout the realm would not be troubled, for they would know to whom the government was left. In addition to this, I understand how the rulers close at hand and the neighbors of my kingdom keep watching for opportunities and waiting to see how things will turn out. Thus I have appointed my son Antiochus to be king. Oftentimes, when I hastened off to the upper provinces, I entrusted and commended him to most of you. So I have written to him what is written here. Therefore, I urge you and request that you remember my acts of kindness for both the common and private good, and maintain your present goodwill toward me and my son. For I am persuaded that he, following my policy, will treat you kindly and considerately. So the murderer and blasphemer suffered very grievously, as he had treated others, for he died a miserable death in the mountains of a foreign land. Then Philip, who grew up with him, took his body home. But, fearing the son of Antiochus, he went instead to Ptolemy Philometor in Egypt.